So the most stylish men on this planet, do you know what they all have in common? Every single one of them is good at math. Now I'm sure some of you guys out there think this is a load of bull because you had a math teacher that couldn't dress for shit. Now let me be clear, I'm not saying if you're good at math, you're instantly going to have good style. No, what I'm saying is that men that dress well have an understanding of mathematics. In particular, ratios, balance, and pattern recognition. I mean, style, if you think about it, at its bare essence, it's about lines, principles, proportions. And from that viewpoint, it's safe to say mathematics makes up 80% of the style equation. In a nutshell, style is the geometry for helping the human body look its best. And even if these math skills are unconscious, stylish men have these abilities, and that's why they can put great looking outfits together. And gents, by the end of this video, so will you. So let's start things off with the golden ratio. Now, mathematicians, artists, and engineers have known about the golden ratio for thousands of years. Not only does it appear in style, art, and architecture, but we also, most interestingly, find it in nature. And that's why it's called the divine proportion. You'll find this proportion in seashells, in galaxies, and Michelangelo's David. Yeah, seriously, great designers have been using this ratio for over 1,000 years to not only create some of the greatest masterpieces ever, but also modern designers use this ratio in classic menswear pieces. In fact, the ideal jacket length, the width of a tie, even where a shirt cuff pops underneath the sleeve. All of this fits into the divine ratio. And that's why when you look at a well-dressed man, it just feels right. The proportions are natural. They're almost spiritual in the way they feel. And the opposite is when the proportions are all off. And in these cases, even people without a sense of style see the person and they just feel that something is off. It doesn't look right. The clothing doesn't seem to work for them. Now, the next mathematical principle is the rule of thirds. I personally learned about this when I was studying photography. Any trained photographer knows that when you put your subject right dead in the center, it makes for a relatively uninteresting photo. Shift them into one of the side thirds, pay attention to the direction that they are looking, the direction in which their body is faced, and all of a sudden the shot comes alive. Gents, in many ways, the same thing applies to style, especially when dressing a man's frame. If you wear clothing that divides the body in half, it looks a little bit odd. Wear clothing that breaks your body into thirds or is monochromatic, all of a sudden you have a cleaner silhouette. Now the classic breakout here is going to be 1/3 to 2/3 or 2/3 to 1/3. The difference being a well-fitted jacket. What you want to avoid in general is clothing that, again, cuts you right in half. It makes the overall look non-interesting versus wearing an outfit maybe with trousers that fit the body, lengthen the leg line, or a jacket that's the right length, not overly long, not too short, which of course changes based off of your own natural proportions, your torso to your leg length. But in general, a well-fitted jacket should just cover the buttocks, or if you put your hand straight down, it should end at about the knuckles. Now, unless you've got a short torso, most guys aren't going to want to lengthen the torso. They're going to want to lengthen their leg line. In this case, look to choose a belt that actually matches your trousers. As you can see from the image here, one belt matches the shirt, the other one matches the trouser, and what do we notice? One lengthens the leg line, the other one lengthens the torso. Now again, there are some guys out there, especially those over maybe 6'4", that will want to lengthen their torso a bit, but for most men under 6 foot in height, you want to lengthen your leg line, and so choosing a belt that doesn't have high contrast with your trousers is a solid option to level up your style. And as we're talking belts, gents, I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, Anson Belt and Buckle. Now, gents, for over a decade, I've been partnering with Anson Belt and Buckle. When I first discovered this company, I just simply loved the product. I love the fact that their belts were interchangeable, meaning that any of their buckles will go with any of their straps. So right here, I've got 2 straps, I've got 3 buckles. That is 6 belt combinations. If I threw in another strap, all of a sudden, I would have 9 different belt combinations, which is really cool. If you think about it, you can own less, get more outfits, get more combinations out of the clothing that you own, but that's actually not their biggest advantage. No, guys, you want to check out their micro adjust technology. You see, Anson has made the belt hole obsolete. With their micro adjust technology, you can adjust your belt to 1/4 of an inch, which translates them into being incredibly comfortable. And because they don't have that belt hole and all the tension that it puts on the strap, you'll find that your Anson belt and buckle lasts longer, looks better, and is easier to fit. Speaking about fit, guys, these make such a great gift because you don't have to choose a size. Because not only do they come in these beautiful box sets, but their straps, you cut to fit you. So it doesn't matter if you've got a 48-inch waist or a 25-inch waist. this belt strap is going to work for you. And don't worry, it's easy to cut. And if you were to mess it up, guys, just reach out to Anson Belt and Buckle. That's why I love this company. So years ago, one of you guys wrote me about how you cut the strap too short. And you reached out to Dave over at Anson Belt and Buckle. You're like, hey man, I made a mistake. Can I just order a new strap? Dave sent him a strap at no cost. Why? Because he treats his customers like family. That's what I love about this business. It's a family-owned company that takes care of their customers. And on top of all of that, guys, check out their selection. They have a wide variety of different colors, different materials. So no matter what color your trousers are, you'll be able to find something that is very close, is going to work in your situation for your particular needs. Gents, get over to Anson Belt and Buckle. Check out all the options they've got for you. I love this company. I'm proud to support them. Go check them out. Use that link in the description of today's video to make sure you always get the best deal on the web. Next up, let's talk about fit ratios. In particular, the shoulder to waist ratio. Tied very closely to the golden ratio, in general, you want your shoulder to waist ratio to be at about 1.6 to a 1.8. Now, it does depend on the culture, but in general, if you are close to this ratio, you are going to come off as strong, masculine, and healthy. Now, the reality is that many men, especially here in the United States, we do not have that ratio. Our waists are a little bit too large. I know you're working on it, and there's not really too much you can do about your shoulders except hitting the gym, building them out, but still, you're not going to build them out that much. And yes, you should eat well, you should go to the gym and take care of yourself, but you got to dress for the body you have today. So what can you do about it? Well, gents, the immediate style fix is to wear clothing that naturally accentuates your shoulders, builds them up, and slims up your waist. Now, as if this is the Real Men Real Style channel, you guys know that I love sports jackets, blazer jackets, any type of suit jacket, any type of jacket in general that builds up the shoulder, slims up the waist, and that's why when you stand, you're walking around, always keep your jacket buttoned. Guys, even if your waist is about the same size as your shoulders, when you wear a jacket, all of a sudden that proportion, that ratio is going to jump to a 1.3 to a 1.4. Is it at the 1.6? No, but it's better than what it was. Got a dad bod? Your natural ratio is going to be about a 1.2. Throw on a jacket, have it fitted well, all of a sudden you're up to a 1.5 and 1.6. If you're a slim guy or you get narrow shoulders, again, putting on a jacket is going to build it up 1.5, 1.6, easy. Now, what if you're incredibly fit? What if you're a bodybuilder? Congratulations. You actually have sometimes the opposite issue in that you want to wear unstructured jackets. You don't want your shoulders making you look like a cartoon character. Now, in this case, you could still maintain that proportion even with a well-fitted shirt, but if you choose to wear a jacket, you want to wear something that fits a little bit closer, and there's no need to have that jacket overly tailored at the waist because, yeah, the proportions are just going to look cartoonish. Gents, the key to fit ratios is to understand your body, its weaknesses, its strengths. You want to accentuate the strengths, downplay the weaknesses, and wear clothing that allows you to put your best foot forward. Next up, let's go to geometry, specifically lines and the way that we see things. When you look at both of these lines, which one is longer? All right, you know that this is a trick question. They are actually the same length. But the reality is, in a lab, when most people are shown this, they choose the line over on that right-hand side. They think that it's longer. Why? Because of the lines around it. This is the way the human eye sees the world. And we easily and naturally fall into these visual tricks that create a skewed perception of what is actually real. So knowing this, you want to use lines to your advantage. A striped shirt, a striped suit, lines going across the shoulders on a sweater. All of these can either make a man look thinner or they can make him look larger. Especially in the case of that sweater, it makes him look larger in the shoulders. Now, the problem with this is when a man doesn't understand this and he wears a garment that actually with his body type is just exaggerating what he doesn't want to exaggerate. And getting back to that example of the belt, again, you wear a high contrast belt with a relatively monochromatic outfit and you are a larger dude. Well, of course, where are the eyes going to be drawn? To the midsection, exactly where you don't want it. So again, a well-dressed man, he understands the importance of geometrical lines, how they can be used to his advantage, and what he wants to avoid to look sharp. And really quick, on a side note, when you're mixing and matching patterns, you want to have patterns next to each other that are different in size. So you can't actually wear a striped suit with a striped shirt. Just make sure that those stripes are not similar in size or distance between. Now, this next point's a little bit more advanced, but I know some of you guys are going to love it, and that is talking about layering with fractions. And one of the best examples I can show you is right here, the shirt underneath the cuff. One of the reasons this looks so good is that we just see a small portion of it, about 1/2 inch on average 1/4 inch for if you're a little bit of a smaller guy. If you are a huge dude, you can go for about an inch. Again, we're paying attention to proportion here. When you're wearing a necktie and a shirt underneath a V-neck sweater, notice how the silk necktie is relatively small, takes up a small section. Next, we've got the shirt, which visually is showing about 3 to 4 times as much material. And finally, the sweater, which oftentimes is layered over with a jacket, and the sweater is going to show about 3 to 4 times as much material as the shirt. You see how these fractions are all laying out? Basically, the lower level pieces in layering, you're only ever going to show a small percentage. Even with a jacket that you're wearing over a shirt or another jacket, you want it to just cover, just be a bit longer than the garment that's underneath. Again, what you notice here is that each visible layer occupies a deliberate fraction of the whole. Next up, let's talk about texture, in particular, contrast ratios. I don't want to spend too much time on this one, it's super advanced, but basically the human eye appreciates a contrast ratio when it comes to clothing combinations of about 30 to 40%. What this translates into is why rougher wool combinations work really well with cotton shirts and silk neckties. The difference here in textures, thread counts, just simply the way it looks. It basically, for the human eye, creates a dimensional balance and it feels right. It just looks good. And at this point, you're still probably wondering, why does this matter? Why does my brain, why visually as human beings do we like this stuff? So there's a whole field of study out there called cognitive aesthetics. And what they've discovered is the human brain processes good ratios, nice proportions, simply faster, and our reward is that we feel it fits. We actually feel good when we're able to process things quicker. The result for you as a well-dressed man is that your symmetry, the way that you dress and present yourself, well, it makes other people feel good, and they associate that with health. Health, order, these healthy ratios, they signal that you're somebody that can be trusted. In fact, this is one of the bases for when we meet someone who's well-dressed, why we unconsciously think, this guy must have his life together. This is somebody that I want to be around. Which again, if you think about it, just gives you a leg up in life. When people are assuming that you are smart, that you can be trusted, that you are somebody they want to be around, and you haven't even opened your mouth, they're just making a judgment because we all do. Gents, over time, this opens up opportunities, hidden doors that you wouldn't have even seen if you didn't dress the part of a success. And having said all of that, guys, how could I leave off the interchangeable wardrobe? Imagine having 4 shoes, 4 shirts, 4 pairs of trousers, 4 jackets. Assuming that everything works with everything, how many total outfits here? No, not 4. 256. It's 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Yeah, with just 16 pieces of clothing, you could go more than half a year without wearing the same exact combination, just pulling from those few pieces. And gents, if you really like that, you want to learn more about the interchangeable wardrobe, come on, I got a whole video for you, boom, right here. I continue on this series. I geek out on this stuff. I love the idea that you can own less clothing, you can dress better. So check this out, and if you get the chance, guys, go check out today's sponsor. Amazing company, Anson Belt and Buckle. I love them, and yeah, go check out this video.